So today I would like to introduce you to Excel and our activities in photonics and how this activity in photonics supports the quantum world, and more specifically the quantum sensor. So we'll give you first a quick overview of the company, and then we'll move on to our micro-optic capabilities that serves our laser activity. So the company Excel is now 1,500 people and turns over about 250 million euros. And it's a company which is geared towards innovation as we reinvest about 20% of our turnover into R&D. So what we do, we do photonic components. With those components, we make systems and subsystems, and they move on to also platforms, which is the main activity of Excel, platform linked to navigations. So there's a direct link, of course, between navigation and inertial navigation. And you can think about fiber optic gyroscopes, accelerometers, and when you think about accelerometers, you can think about cold atom sensing as well. So this is why the company at the highest level is interested into quantum sensing. But you will see that our building blocks also can be used for other quantum activities such as quantum computing or quantum key distributions. Our industrial base is mainly in France, and here I've singled out the main sites that serve the photonic activity. In northern Brittany, we have a manufacturing site for specialty fibers. So all kind of fibers, including photonic crystal fibers that can be used to carry very exotic wavelengths, which the quantum community sometimes needs. Near Bordeaux, we have the micro-optic activity, which used to be called Kilia, which was bought in 2021 by Excel. And Muquance, which is making quantum instruments, gravimeters. In Besançon, near the Swiss border, we have a factory with a fab to make lithium niobate electro-optic modulators. And these also are instrumental to serve the quantum community. So first, the micro-optics. The idea of the micro-optic bench is that you shrink an optical bench into a small substrate of glass or quartz, and you integrate several optical functions on it. And it's quite practical because it's fiber in, fiber out with collimators on both ends, and you integrate pretty much any kind of optical function that you want in between. So, for example, you can make a splitter with ultra-low insertion loss and very high PER and high stability. And these components can be used, for example, to make master lasers, the kind of lasers that you use to cool and manipulate atoms. So in that case, you see we have a CW laser at 780, which is made with a ECDL CEDA laser, then an EDFA at 1560, and then a frequency doubler to get 780, very stable 780 beam. And that can be used for atom cooling, but also for different experiments in the field of quantum technology, purely using photons for the study of non-Gaussian states, for example. We have the ultra-stable master laser, which includes a gas cell, which the laser can lock onto. And you have a library of interesting frequencies to lock on in order to do your atom cooling and manipulations. Oops, sorry. When we integrate further these lasers, we have the intelligent laser system, which comprises a master laser with a gas cell, and also several slave lasers that are linked to it, and up to three lasers. This is an example of an architecture of an intelligent laser system, ILS, with one master laser and 2 slave lasers. So as a conclusion, Excel provides you with components, specialty fibers, electro-optic modulators, integrated micro-optical benches, and also a lot of know-how in low-noise electronic for your experiments or for your products. But we have also lasers and systems that can be used directly in your lab to cool atoms, to manipulate atoms. If you don't have time to build yourself the laser, we can save you time, and time is money. And also, we have the full cold rubidium atom gravimeter, which is already functioning and which is using all those elements as a proof of quality and relevance of the performance of those components. This type of gravimeter is now on the Etna volcano. So you can see that quantum technology is already out in the field, even sometime in rough environments, and can work and deliver, make a breakthrough in terms of accuracy of measurement. So you are welcome to come and see me here. I mean, over there on the 2D12 booth. This is my email address. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to come and see me. I'll be happy to help you. Thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you very much for this introduction. And thank you for, getting it done. Oh. Right. Cool. So before I start, I just want to check in the audience how many of you have already heard about single quantum? Right? Not many, maybe 2 or 3 people. All right, that's good to know. So today I will talk about something that everyone can understand, I promised. So what you're looking at here is an asteroid. Its name is Psyche. Psyche is an asteroid that orbits the sun between the Mars and the Jupiter. That's pretty far away. And what's special about this asteroid is it's exceptionally rich of metal. So one theory how this came into existence is first it's very old. It was formed in the early days of the solar system. And one theory is that maybe it was going to be a planet. Maybe in a violent incidence of a collision, it lost its course. Think about it. So maybe it was going to become another Earth. So this provides us a very rare opportunity to understand, well, for example, what the core of the Earth actually looks like, because there's no way for us to go that deep, go to that high temperature to peek into the middle of the Earth. So for that reason, NASA is working on a mission called the Psyche, the same name of the actual asteroid. So in 2021, they assembled and tested the spacecraft in a lab. And 2022, I think I lost the sound. Now it's back. Okay, in 2022, the spacecraft was shifted to the launch site. So actually, in 2 days, they're going to launch it. So if you want to watch it, you can go to NASA's website and you can watch it live. But anyway, so when it's launched from the Earth, it's going to fly a rather long distance, bypassing Mars, and eventually reach the orbit of the asteroid. And it's going to, fly around a few times before the end of the mission. So at this moment, this asteroid is more than 500 million kilometers away from the Earth. And the cruise time to reach its orbit is going to be 5 years and 10 months. That's quite impressive. And on board the spacecraft, there will be a DOC system, deep space optical communication. So it's basically using laser communication to transfer data, think about photos, videos, from the spacecraft down to the Earth. And it promises a faster speed to transmit data, possibly 10 to 100 times. It's to be tested. And as you know, if it goes to such a far distance, there will be challenges. And the most challenging things are the divergence of the beam and the losses along the path. So just to give you a perspective, when you look at the moon from when you look at the Earth from the moon, that's how it looks like. But if this is a photo taken by Curiosity rover, so when you look at the Earth from the Mars, it's just a tiny dot. So imagine that's going to be a challenge to shoot laser beam to the Earth, right? And what is the solution for receiving photons? They're going to use superconducting nanowire single photon detectors. And for that, we have built a system for this mission. So now I'm going to talk about something maybe a little bit more complicated. So what is superconducting nanowire single photon detectors? So it's actually pretty simple. If you think about it, it's the nanowire made of superconducting material. It meanders over a certain area. We call this detection area. That's the area where it's sensitive and can absorb photons and detect it. And it can translate the signal, a very weak signal, to a strong electronic signal. So if you think about like a little wire, if it's superconducting, and if you apply a bias current, and if the current is high enough, it will break the superconductivity, right? So that threshold current, we call it the critical current. So when you actually use the nanowire, you want to apply a current that's lower than the critical current, so the wire is still superconducting, but you bring it very close to that threshold so that a single photon can actually break the superconductivity, first locally, and then due to an avalanche effect, it will create a resistive barrier. And if you think about it one more time, so when it's superconducting, you apply current, the voltage at the two ends is 0. And if it becomes a resistive barrier, you apply a current, you're going to get a voltage. And that voltage is a signal you want to capture, amplify, and tell you that you detected a photon. All right? So what's good about the superconducting nanowire single photon detectors as compared to conventional detectors? Well, these are the merits. So it has very high quantum efficiency, close to unity, so which means it can detect the very small energy of a single particle of light, a photon, and very low noise, and exceptionally high time resolution, very short recovery time, high count rate, high dynamic range, no after pulsing, and also because it's superconducting material, you need to put it into a cryogenic environment, but the requirement for temperatures is not that harsh. So you can actually have a continuous operation and very long lifetime. And these have been already widely used in photonic quantum computing, quantum key distribution, space tagging, not only in deep space communication, but also like in space quantum key distribution, and also imaging for biomedical applications as well as material science. So here is what we make, what the entire system looks like if you tear them apart, okay? So this is the cryostat that provides a low temperature environment for the superconducting nanowire. And when you use it, you first need to vacuum it. So you need to connect vacuum pump for a few hours. And then you also need to be connected to a helium compressor. So helium is recycled between the compressor and the cryostat. So it's closed cycle, and for the user, it's actually helium-free. Also, you need the control box to provide the bias current and read out the voltage signal. And that's pretty much it. So single quantum offers a few different options for the cryogenics. So the cryostat, that's the very first version. Sorry, there's a mistake here. It can host 8 independent detection channels. And there's a bigger version that can host the 24 channels. And there's a newer version that is rack compatible and very compact and has a height of only 13 centimeter or 3U for people who work in data centers. Especially, I want to mention that this rack-mountable cryostat can be combined with a new compressor developed and manufactured by AtoCube. And tomorrow, I believe AtoCube will also give a presentation. If you're interested, you can check it out. So the total system, cryostat, driver, compressor, promises only 11 units in the rack. All right. And also, there are some new features. If you're interested, you can welcome to visit our booth. I will share the booth location. So besides the rack-mountable cryostat, we also rolled off photon number resolving detectors last year. We now offer a gating solution. We offer very high count rate in the range of gigahertz. We can offer multi-mode fiber coupling compared to single-mode coupling. And also we can detect photons all the way from UV to mid-infrared. And the last but not least, what is coming is a single photon camera, which means you don't necessarily need fibers to couple to the detectors. You can also do free space coupling. And that is actually the solution we're delivering to NASA. So this is a sneak peek of this SQ cam. You can see here there's an optical window, and inside there is a big array of SNSPDs. All right, so if I have time, I will go a bit over the history. So we were born, company was founded in Delft, the Netherlands, as a spin-off from TU Delft. And that's our co-founders. That's Professor Welswiller, and back then his PhD student, Sander Doornbos. So they put a cryostat on a bike because biking is a Dutch thing, and we even jokingly wanted to deliver the entire cryogenic system to customers in a cargo bike. Our mission is to make the world's fastest and most sensitive light sensors limited only by the laws of physics. We have now more than 200 happy customers all over the world. We have pretty much sold to every continent except Africa and Antarctica. And we also built a fleet of global service engineers who can provide dedicated customer service, lifetime technical support, and very short downtime. And we offer cold head maintenance ourselves. We set up a single quantum Asia office in 2019. And just in a few days, we will incorporate our subsidiary in the United States. Yeah, with that, I would like to conclude my presentation. Our booth is number 2E21, which is 10 meters that way. Thank you.
And yeah, my name is Rashid from Darmstadt. It's a cybersecurity hub for security in general, for cybersecurity. So if you want to visit Darmstadt, be aware of all the buildings with respect to research in cybersecurity of Fraunhofer Institute and the TU Darmstadt, and of course many other organizations. So when we talk about quantum security, there are two aspects to differentiate. So first of all, people always think of quantum to establish, you need quantum to establish quantum security. That is partially true. This is one way to use to establish quantum security, but there is also another way to establish quantum security, which is based on mathematics. Okay? So you don't need quantum devices in order to establish quantum security, where quantum security means, first of all, to be secure against quantum computer attacks. So now it's getting a little bit more complicated. This, what you can see here, is used to establish security in current IT infrastructures. So it's a large number, and the question is always, how can we factor this large number into two prime factors? Maybe some of you may remember what prime factors are. And these prime factors, once you have those prime factors, you can essentially do whatever you want to do in the internet, and to get into systems, to decrypt data, etc. So this way of mathematics has been proven to be insecure by quantum computers. That means quantum computers can completely break these crypto systems or encryption, digital signatures, based on this mathematics which is used today. So this is a big problem, because our current IT infrastructure, in fact, has now many vulnerabilities due to that. And this is an example of a certificate. Certificates are used to establish authenticity in the internet, as an example. So whenever you see this lock in the internet, you feel safe, because now you know with whom you are talking to. That means if you are on online banking, you know you are talking to the right bank and not some phishing bank, some fake bank, which has the same appearance. So a little bit more about facts and figures. So in the last couple of years, the number of devices has steadily been increasing, and it is expected to double within the next 5 years. That means from 2022 to 2028, we expect about 46 billion devices that are interconnected, that communicate, send data, etc. And on the same side, we have the number of data will be increasing in 2025 to 180 zettabytes. So it's a number and a wording that we are not, which is not common in our language, but it is 180 with 21 zeros. And in 2020, there were 64 zettabytes created, of data being created, copied, and backed up whatsoever. So that means we have an exponential increase of data production. And all this data, you must think of that, may have sensitive ones which should be secure within the next decades. Health data, political data, IP. Yeah? Here are many companies that have spent a lot of money into research and development, and they want to be sure that their IP will be safe within the next years. So what can a quantum computer do? Normally you expect something like malware or Trojana. You have viruses and so forth which infect the system, and due to this infection with this malware, they can give access to an adversary to those systems. But with a quantum computer, you don't need this. You can be passive. You just store ciphertext, that means encrypted data. You store them in order to decrypt them at a later stage by means of a quantum computer, maybe in the cloud, which is not so expensive as buying one. But in fact, what the quantum computer can do, it can attack all those entities that we are aware of within IT infrastructure. Now the big question is, how can we protect ourselves against this? Maybe this is a solution, right? But I don't advise or recommend to do that. You should trust into quantum-safe algorithms that are algorithms that are based on problems which are expected to be safe or secure against quantum computer attacks. But the question is, how can we build quantum-safe applications? And these are the building blocks in order to do so. Yeah? At the bottom, we have quantum-safe algorithms, which are the basis for producing quantum-safe applications. But they are not only the ones that are necessary. In fact, on top of that, we have protocols which are very complex. So protocols can be communication channels, can be whatsoever. So there are different protocols which are complex, which need to be designed in a secure way. So it is not just to use quantum-safe algorithms. And then we can build quantum-safe applications. But through all those stages, we need also crypto agility, because now we have the experience. Classical algorithms are not secure. Maybe the other ones are in the future need to be changed due to more security requirements and maybe to other regulatory requirements and so forth. Therefore, they need to be interchangeable. They need to be able to be switched off, to be changed with other ones, etc. And for doing that, we also need organizational building blocks in order to allow how to change those security algorithms, to make rules, to know which ones are replaced by the other ones, and so forth. So we start with the quantum safe algorithms. It looks like this. It's not very difficult to understand. It's as in the classical sense, but in the quantum sense, we have as the underlying problems to be hard computational problems. That means problems that are hard to solve, even for quantum computers. And there are many different ones, like lattice-based cryptography, hash-based cryptography, and so forth, which have problems in those domains. And then, once we have those problems, which are trustworthy, which can be safe against quantum computers, we build on top of them a cryptographic scheme. A cryptographic scheme is an encryption algorithm, digital signatures. That means we encrypt data, and the security of this encryption, that means if an adversary can decrypt data, then he can also solve that problem. So that's a very nice security guarantee, right? If I can decrypt the data, I can solve the problem. But the problem, the underlying problem, is hard for a quantum computer. Therefore, I get the security of the security system. So so there are different algorithms which can be used for that, for digital signatures, for encryption, for key exchange, etc. But then you have also quantum safe protocols, which are needed because you cannot only encrypt. You are talking to other people within the internet. You are doing online banking. You are trying to authenticate yourself to other parties which are distributed all over the world. So we need complex protocols which also need to be secure. So as an example, this is used in the internet, the TLS protocol. We have two phases, the handshake phase and the data transfer. In the handshake phase, both parties agree which algorithms to use. So they agree on, so should we be classical algorithms or should we use quantum safe algorithms? And if we use quantum safe algorithms, how does it look like? And then they start to make a handshake. So they agree on something, namely a quantum safe algorithm that is being used in order to establish a quantum safe channel. So therefore we built a quantum safe protocol out of it. And the nice thing is now we have different features like crypto agility. So crypto agility allows to use different algorithms. So suppose tomorrow your company has more security as a security rule. So we need to increase the security due to major changes within the organization. And therefore it should be possible within a blink of an eye to change the algorithms. So there are many different other protocols and such as communication protocols, such as SSH, IPsec, and so forth for different purposes. And we have also other building blocks which need the quantum safe algorithms, like hardware security modules that are where the modules have the capability to store keys which never leave the hardware. So it's a very interesting thing and important thing, such that adversaries can never get to those keys that are stored within the hardware security module. So we have a bunch of different protocols and building blocks which are necessary to build a quantum safe application. So at the end of the day, once we have all those building blocks, we can build quantum safe applications, right? Because now we have, for communication, we can establish quantum safe channels, and for securing keys, and we have key management systems, and we have also hardware security modules. And for building applications, we can now concentrate and focus on building using the business logic to establish the business application and reuse or base the security on top of the building blocks, the components that have the capability to establish quantum safety, right? So it's a component-wise or modular design in order to get applications that are quantum safe. And of course, applications can depend on other applications which on themselves are quantum safe, and in order to have like a hierarchical design or a net design in order to establish a quantum safe application that serves the purposes, namely to build the business logic for a company. So as an example, we have an app that performs software updates, or it has some business logic, and beside that it requires to have software updates and to realize that. Therefore we have here the application with the business logic, and then we have here the software update which will be installed on this application. And for that we have the component, one component which is a crypto service. It verifies the software so that it is authentic. It has not been changed, and the software update has been established and generated by the authority which we expect. So therefore we need to verify that this software update is authentic, and furthermore that it has not been manipulated. And for that we have public keys here, and we require a crypto engine, a second component, which does the mathematics. It does nothing else than verifying signatures. So we go to the button. But the problem here is we have crypto agility established, different algorithms, but how are they used? There's nothing else than support for crypto agility. And therefore we need the organizational stuff in order to establish that. Here's an example. We have technical and non-technical components. The technical ones are the ones that define the security rules. What should we do in times when the security needs to be increased, or in times when there's a security drop, when parameter changes, and so forth. So we need experts in that domain, and we need well-defined security rules which need to be enforced. So we not only need a guideline, in this sense like a catalog, but we also need enforcement in order to apply them within the applications and the components. So here's an example, and that's my almost last slide. We have the same app here, and we have, as an example, the following occurs, case 1, a security drop. That means a cryptographic scheme is not as secure as it was before. Like we measure it, as an example, we measure it in terms of bit security. And it was, for example, 128-bit security. Now this cryptographic scheme dropped to 110 as an example. Now we need to increase the security, right? And what happens? We can change the parameters of this cryptographic scheme in the first instance. So the crypto engine gets a new the same cryptographic scheme with new parameters. And for the first component, the public key is re-established, recalculated. And in the final phase, we disable the software update because it has been signed. The signature is not correct anymore. So we need a new signature based on those choices. The second case is if the algorithm itself is weak. So we need to change the algorithm. In that case, we go from this scheme to that scheme as an example, and but in this case, it's not the fact that that those schemes are both secure now, but just for showing how it works, the algorithm would in this sense change from this one to that one, and therefore we need a new key, which was already there, and furthermore we need also to disable the software update. So it's a complex procedure in order to get quantum safe applications within a company. So it's not as easy as one thinks to use just quantum safe algorithms, but it has really different stages which need to be solved, and that's also what we did, and we provide a quantum safe platform that allow people to generate quantum safe applications just by use of an SDK. So they don't need the whole process. They can do it very easily, just include it as a library and build the security systems as they want. And we also help companies to do that, to establish quantum safe applications within their company. And we also provide a test platform. So if you are interested in having a test account to see how it works, just let me know. I will be here for a while. And by this, I want to conclude my talk. So if nothing helps, you know, just buy someone who will share the blame with you. And by this, I want to thank you. And I'm open, of course, for questions whenever you want.
Thank you very much, Rashid.
Yeah, so hello everyone, thank you for listening. So what I will tell you basically builds upon the previous talk we have seen, because I'm talking from a top-down perspective, from how it works if you have to maintain and implement security, information security in complex infrastructures. And I want to give a glimpse into the future on how this complexity will increase when we have more technologies, namely quantum technologies, in our heterogeneous infrastructures. So first, about us. I don't have to tell much more. It was introduced. So maybe something additionally. We are a bootstrapped company, so until now we are self-financed, and we finance ourselves from information security consulting, and we mainly consult strictly regulated critical infrastructure providers. But we also have research and development department. Yeah, but we are focusing on software engineering and security analysis, so no hardware at all. What do we do in the quantum technology area? We focus on quantum integration, quantum migration, on project management of infrastructure changes, and quantum security proofs and validation. Oh, I can check here, thanks. So, our main research project at the moment is QuantID. It's a cooperation with the Fraunhofer IPMS, with MTG AG, and with the University of Regensburg. And we are playing the part of integrating post-quantum and quantum security to globally used identity access management controls, access management protocols. And in this scope, we are developing a quantum secure single sign-on solution. So now about the content of this talk. I want to focus on the impact on information security management. I know it's kind of a far glimpse into the future, but I still want to raise awareness in general. So first, take a look at this screenshot. That's a screenshot of a virtual machine which we have put online, and there is one open process which is open to the internet. That's the SSH port. And that's how it looks like a few minutes after you have deployed this server. A few minutes later, you have every second attack attempts from China, Lithuania, and all other kinds of countries. That's how it looks like in the internet. And if you have seen this like in live systems, you are aware that you need constant defense. That's just the way we live. And I mean, this is not a server of a bank. This is a server of a small startup, and they don't even know who's behind it. But those scanners find these open ports, and they start attacking just for the sake of, let's see where we get. So that's why we need information security management. And for information security management, we need systems. Systems in the sense of ISMS, which is a set of procedures and rules in an organization to implement and maintain information security. The maintenance of information security is done by this cycle. Plan, do, check, act. You do it all the time. It's a never-ending circle. And the set of procedures of rules, there is a name for it in information security management. It's called control. A control is a measure or procedure to reduce risk on information security. It can be of organizational, technical, operational, legal, physical, or whatever nature. So, we start to look at the complexity. If we have this information security management system, we have controls, then you see control categories. I just listed a few. That's not the whole set of information security controls. A lot of the terms will not tell you anything at the moment, yeah. But yeah, and for each of these controls, you have to continuously do this plan, do, check, act cycle. And okay, let's go a little bit deeper in the sense of, let's pick one of these control categories, which is called platform security. Platform security would mean that you actively secure systems. And these systems, yeah, you have like subcategories which are system configuration, connectivity of networks, patch management, lifecycle management, and so on. Now, if you start looking at this, so you're looking in your set of rules, you say, I need to secure the systems in my organization. the next step is, okay, which systems? And for this, you need the so-called control configuration management. Configuration management says that you maintain an inventory of all your systems. That can be huge in a large organization. I have seen configuration management systems with tens of thousands of systems. That's not like, that's like regular size for infrastructure providers. That's when you start looking like that. Okay, I have to do that for all those systems? Crazy, how will I manage? Yeah, okay, then you calm down and then you say, good, now I have this inventory, but it's a large number of systems. So I have to do this plan, do checked X cycle for all this large number of systems. And then you think, I won't manage. But there is a solution to this, to reduce the complexity, and that's done usually by categorizing systems. So you choose system types, you bundle them, and you define procedures on how to handle them, like for a whole set of system category. Exactly this step will be the step where we will have an increase of complexity information security management. If we have more technologies, more types of technologies, we have more types of experts also. We have more number of system components and so on. So the summary is quantum technologies will enhance the complexity of our digital infrastructures, their operations, and the related information security management systems. We should be aware of this fact while preparing integration and migration. Yeah, that's basically my message. And yeah, it's my daily life to handle this complexity. So that's why I'm talking from the heart. Good, thank you.
Thank
Oh, well, hello everyone. I'm Sharon Musayyabi, CEO, co-founder of Crypto Quantique. I'm just going to build up on what you've heard in the past two talks. Just to start with, crypto means cryptography. There's no fishy business going on here. We are a company based in London. We are VC-backed, growing, and essentially we are concentrating on securing the connected world, or the IoT. And by IoT, we mean any connected device that could be a sensor in your house or your cameras to the vehicle that you are driving. So as you've heard enough, I think, the Quantum Day is here, and they are a threat into the widely used crypto systems that we have. So we need to act and we need to move. The good thing is there are solutions, quantum technologies providing solutions to address that challenge. Quantum key distribution, for instance, is one of those. However, when it comes to the connected world or the IoT, specific IoT devices, given their characteristics of the physical characteristics that they have, the type of devices that they are, It's not, at least right now, it's not really possible to use technologies like QKD to secure them. So we need to rely on other mechanisms to secure them. As you've heard, there is this thing called post-quantum cryptography. The new standards are already out by NIST, and the industry is moving towards implementation phase. These 4 algorithms that you see are the ones that have been standardized and are being essentially the industry going through a transition to adopt them. And at least for now, we know that it will solve the issue of quantum threats to security. The challenge, however, is these are not really that friendly to IoT devices. These type of algorithms, either from mathematical point of view, require arithmetic methodologies that are not really IoT friendly, because we're talking about devices that are not that powerful. They don't have much flash memory inside them, those chips. And from communication point of view, they are usually low band or narrow bands, etc. So it will solve when you use your laptops and mobile phones and server communication, these algorithms. But when it comes to your connected camera or vehicle or thermostats in your house, it doesn't really solve the problem, or is challenging for us to run them on those type of devices. To give you a quick example is a signature algorithm such as dilithium has a size over 3,000 bytes that is required for the key size and the signature size that needs to be stored inside memory inside the device. This is versus ECDSA that we use today. It's not post-quantum secure, but you only need 64 bytes of information to store inside the device. And that is a massive change. And memory, flash memories inside chips are very expensive. So from an IoT perspective, this is a huge challenge right now for the industry. So how we solve this problem is to exploit one of our products, which is called QDID. And I'm going to talk about physics a little bit more, so it might be more exciting for you guys. QDID is a PUF IP, a physical unclonable function. PUFs are an idea that came about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and essentially says we can use some device variability inside the chips and other silicon devices to create unforgeable cryptographic keys or randomness that comes from the device, so they don't need to be injected inside the device, as we traditionally used to do. Hence, no one knows the secret, but also the secret doesn't need to be stored because it's part of the DNA of the chip, of the device. So that, from security point of view, is very exciting, very interesting. What we've done is, what is out there as PUF, they are using normal electronic components to create that effect. However, they are side channel attacks on those components. So the application, PUF application built from them is not secure. So QDID is a quantum tunneling PUF that uses the quantum tunneling current of transistors inside any silicon chip to create a fingerprint, essentially, which is unique and random per chip, and is always there, but is not stored really. So you don't need to store the secret inside the flash memory. That means if you need to generate a public key, you can just read 256-bit random seeds from this fingerprint and inject that into a key generation algorithm to generate your public key, whether it's post-quantum or not, and then use it. And then you can delete everything, and you can recreate the same seed from the same process again. So if someone physically gets hold of the device, there's nothing inside the memory to essentially extract and know what secret you used. And that's very valuable generally for security perspective, but also now when it comes to post-quantum cryptography. Just touch a little bit more on the physics of this. Because we are measuring quantum tunneling, which is not an easy thing to do on today's chips, on silicon, because we're talking about very low current. We're talking femtoampere type currents, very sensitive to noise, obviously, so it's a challenging engineering to be able to measure those currents at the chip level. These are first of all, the circuit is integratable into any semiconductor chip that's being fabricated today, but also they are secure against side channel attacks that exist today. So it gives you full security at the chip level. So why is this important? Because now if you need to run PQC algorithms, as we spoke about, on an IoT device in those low device constraint chips, then you don't need that huge amount of memory anymore, because you can use QDIT as a seed generator for the keygen algorithm of those PQC crypto systems, and then generate the public key, private key, use them, delete them. So no memory extra memory is required anymore. So that helps on reducing the resources required to run PQC algorithms on IoT devices. So that solves the memory issue to run those things. But what about communication? So IoT devices obviously are connected. And for communication, we usually use protocols such as TLS. So the first thought is, in order to make that post-quantum secure, you just swipe the existing crypto algorithm in TLS with the PQC algorithm. But again, we just said digital signatures and other PQC algorithms are very expensive to run for IoT devices. So how the industry or the academia came about solving this for IoT devices is they introduced a variation of TLS known as ChemTLS. So ChemTLS uses the key encapsulation crypto systems instead of digital signatures. And by doing that, essentially, you don't need to do signatures and send certificates around. So it kind of solves the power consumption, the bandwidth requirement, and the memory issues that exist around TLS for the IoT. But the way the algorithm still works is it requires some long-term certificates to be established prior for that TLS to be run. So you still need to deal with some signatures, and also you have some other rounds of communication added to the protocol, which again, from bandwidth point of view, could create issues for the IoT. So we solve those issues for communication for IoT. So this is a joint development work with ETH Zurich University. And essentially, we are again using QDIT to generate a unique identity per IoT device that can be extracted at the manufacturing level. And this is a public value, but cryptographically verifiable only by that device. And we use that as that initial key that is required to establish ChemTLS network, essentially. So because of using that unique device ID, we're replacing the extra amount of information that needs to be pre-shared before being able to run ChemTLS for IoT devices. Again, solving the power issue, pre-communication issue, and also memory problems on the IoT side. I'm not going to go through the handshake protocol of ChemTLS here. But yeah, so these are the two main things that we are addressing on IoT devices to establish PQC algorithms for them. Thank you very much.
So yeah, we're going to change topic a bit, talk about quantum sensing, talk about QNAMI. We've been one of the pioneers in that field, working since 2017, as was already said before. Our team has now reached about 25 people. We're backed up by venture capital, but also generating revenue already, so happy to report that we're actually meeting end-user real use case. My name is Mathieu Munch. I'm the co-founder and CEO of QNAMI. And to start with, I'd like to explain a little about this market that we're after. So we've looked into sensing, and we've looked in particular into sensing use cases where there is today a strong demand for high precision or high sensitivity. It's the two sides of the same coin. And we've looked at that with the help of the Boston Consulting Group, and we can identify a pool of use case which will represent a 25 to 40 billion market opportunity by 2030. What that means is that this is a pool, a value pool, where quantum sensors are meant to play a growing role because of their intrinsic capabilities to deliver on higher performance. In terms of just quick examples, where is that sensitivity needed? Semiconductor industry, for example, we're going to say a word about it in a second. The idea here is that the current trends in miniaturization are putting the manufacturing costs or the process development cost up to the roof, are posing a challenge on yield, and ideally getting information at the level where single cells are being built today is what is needed to enable a transition in that industry. A second example is in the medical space. Here, of course, you know that if you could diagnose with better precision, you would be able to first make earlier diagnostics, but also when surgery is needed, have a much more targeted approach. The platform that we're working on are NV centers in diamond. You might have heard of them today, and they're pretty prominent in the show. Why do we like them? We like them because they are a quantum system, so they provide this atomic precision, if you like. They are operating at room temperature, which is a key ingredient for sensor application in particular, because you want them implemented on the field and not just in a data center. And last, but maybe most importantly, this technology is in the range of is in the semiconductor family. So there is a very clear path forwards on how you can miniaturize, scale down, and scale in terms of cost, and scale up in terms of volume, that type of sensor technology. Now, with any new technology, there is a lot to do, and there is a full ecosystem to develop, right? So our part, the work we've done so far in the past years, has been to develop end-to-end solution, starting with raw material, like the very high-quality diamond that we need in the first place, and developing a full solution to meet our customer needs. Roughly speaking, we're talking about two main areas. One is what we like to call the quantum foundry, where we do all the nanofabrication, packaging, so that we end up with compact, finished devices. And the other side of things is the integration in the customer workflow. And we're talking here about integrating these sensors in a system, and also data management to meet the actual need from the user. So this is our product portfolio. In the first years, we focused on microscopy, and this is the product that you see on the left, on your left. So what we have here is a quantum sensors that have been engineered to fit into a commercial microscope and provide a boost in terms of sensitivity. Who asked for that? Well, the semiconductor industry, and in particular, engineers and scientists developing the next generation chips. And they want this further insight that I already mentioned. I will say a few more words about it in the use case explanation in the next slide. We're currently building a pilot of that based on that same technology for cryogenic application. The idea here is that we want to support not only the semiconductor industry in their chip development, but also the quantum industry in their quantum chip development, so inspection of superconducting materials, for example. So that's a pilot we're building with the Technical University of Munich. And finally, on the right side, you have what we call the Quantum Foundry, which I already introduced, which we have offered as a service for already a number of years. What we do here is we provide early adopters in the quantum sensing area with manufacturing capabilities that they would otherwise need to invest in just to build the first pilot, to build the first instrument, to build the first understanding of what that type of technology can do for them. So this is a service they can come to us and we co-engineer, co-design with them with the manufacturing capabilities later on if it's interesting to them. Few words about this use case, because I think use cases are important in the quantum industry. We want to understand where we're actually already making a difference. So here, what the sensor does, it really measures magnetic signals at the nanometer level. So this is the single unit cell level. So this picture, which is behind me, is coming from a use case that we've published earlier this year with our partner IMEC. It's the big R&D house for semiconductor, where you can see dots. All these dots are a bit pointing in a certain direction. All the black regions are dots pointing in the other direction. From this type of knowledge, the process engineers are able to tell where the faulty bits come from, what is working in the process, what is not. They're able to inform the system architecture as well, because ultimately you will have error code implementation. So bottom line, this helps them to reduce the development time by about 30%, which is a huge number. And why is this so important to them? You have heard about AI, I'm sure. You probably also know that the huge amount of work in AI now is also actually representing a challenge for the underlying hardware, right? AI is very consuming in terms of memory capacity, but also in terms of pure power consumption, right? So these industry, the semiconductor industry, is looking for the next memory that will be very dense, very low energy, and MRAM is one of these examples, so that's what our first use case was about. If you want to know a little more about it, our director of product is giving a more focused talk about that in the QBN Industry Summit, which is somewhere around. And before I conclude, I'd like to say that QNAMI is also interested in other problems where we see that we can bring the value that we have developed so far. And as an example, I'd like to talk about brain imaging, which may sound quite disconnected, but actually bears a lot of similar features. We're talking about some sort of electronic circuit, which is not on a chip this time, but in your brain, right? So it's clear that the sensor solution is going to look pretty different at the end. But to give you two concrete examples where our expertise is already important, on the one end, to do very good sensors, which is needed in both cases, you need to optimize one quantity, which we call photon extraction efficiency. So it's light collection in simple terms, right? So we have developed designs, but also manufacturing processes that allow us to preserve the quality of our quantum sensors and optimize that property, and we want to recycle that. The second thing is at the complete other extreme. That's another use case we've published earlier this year in terms of data management. The semiconductor industry, in the measurement that we do, we have a certain magnetic field at a certain location where our sensor is. But what we're really interested in is to understand where the source of the signal is, right? And that is the same question in the brain. You want to understand where a potential location for epileptic seizure is with great accuracy. So we have developed a machine learning algorithm which takes the data and calculates back where the source signal is. Now it works in 2D, that's what we needed, and we're moving into 3D, which is needed for brain imaging. So these are just two examples why the platform that we developed can address a number of different examples. And we're, of course, extremely curious to hear from you in the audience, from the industries around what are your needs and whether we can help develop and support the ecosystem going in this direction. So with this, I'm finished. I'd like to say as well, if there are some investors in the room, we never know, that you can contact me to get more information about our next financing round. And also always awards for talents, young, seniors, engineering, business. We're having, I think, 3 open positions right now, and there will be even a lot more in 24. So please also connect with us. We have a booth over there. I'm here the whole afternoon. And with this, thank you for your attention, and maybe enjoy your lunch now.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this nice introduction. Today, I was invited to raise awareness of the power of ecosystems and also the power what you can create within an ecosystem. And I'm also a bit here to advertise what we are doing, but this will come in the very end. I'm sure you might think you already are part of an ecosystem because you know every second person here on the conference, because you know every second company on the conference. This might be a nice network, but this is far away from an ecosystem. An ecosystem I want to talk about is an actual business model that was automatically developed alongside with the changing economy and the digitalization of the economy, and also the involvement of a lot of deep tech that is coming now to change our economy. And not only economy, also the society, as you know. So what is this business model about? The business model, the character of this business model is that the problem of the customer is in the center. No matter which sectors it might be touched to solve the problem. And I know some of you might not even have customers working in quantum. We will come to that later. But see customer as a needy player. An ecosystem is also characterized by the aim of not having the biggest share of your market you're in as quick as possible. It's more characterized by building up the market, often with your competitors, and then later sharing the shares. And this comes along with a whole different mindset you need to grow when you want to really work in an ecosystem. The old ecosystems, I'm also like to refer to the old ecosystems where you have top-down approaches controlled by a few that don't work in this new world. Think about only a classical ecosystem to tackle the world's problems. You're all concerned of, right? Climate change, new technologies in your sector you're working in. You cannot tackle the problems alone. You need a huge ecosystem. Partnerships is also not enough. So ecosystems come in very different forms. To start very easily, I like the example of Tesla. Tesla is not only an electric car producer. What is Tesla selling? Tesla is selling a healthy world, a good world, a renewable world. It's another discussion how renewable it is. But this is what Tesla is selling. If they would work in an ecosystem, they would only sell cars. But they sell electric cars. They sell solar panels, Powerwall batteries, and a supercharger network. And why? Because in the center, there is a customer that wants a sexy and a very easy solution to be sustainable. They don't really care if it's an electric vehicle or how this vehicle is driving. They want the solution of a clean car. And this is what Tesla is offering them. Another very different ecosystem I like is the port of Rotterdam. In the center of this ecosystem is the port of Rotterdam themselves and their problem. Their problem is they decided to be climate neutral in 2050. But to reach this goal, it's one of the global biggest ports. To reach this goal, they need a lot of partners. They need huge ecosystem. But the main challenge is they have to improve efficiency of the energy. They could never do it with only one or two partners. They need to transform towards a new sustainable energy system. They also need to develop new materials to optimize their ways, and also to develop a new food system, for example. What they did, they gathered an ecosystem around of 40 European companies, 10 universities and research institutes, and 3 competitors. And the goal is to solve the problems, to solve the challenges, growing the benefits for everyone that is involved, and then sharing the shares. This is the character of a business model. To come a bit closer to quantum, one of the technologies they used, this is not the Port of Rotterdam, this is an example of the Port of LA, but the Port of Rotterdam also announced now to use quantum technology to build up a quantum communication infrastructure and also to optimize their logistics. By using quantum computing, just as an example, using quantum computing to optimize the logistics, the Port of LA, the value increased of 300% within only 3 years. This is the technology you are working in. This is the value you are sitting on, just to make you aware. So what does this all have to do with you now? Okay, a bit of quantum in the Port of Rotterdam or LA, but Tesla in the port itself, what does it have to do? It's very easy. It's in the nature of deep tech lies that it needs a whole ecosystem to grow. You all work in an environment that will change the economy and the society tremendously. And you need a lot of different players. And a very short look in the history, in the economic history, shows that it is the ecosystem players that now share the biggest market cap. Within 20 years, we had a tremendous change. Now, 8 out of 10 companies are ecosystem companies sharing the biggest market cap. And this is where we are heading to. And you should also care because you're driving a revolution with working in quantum technology that McKinsey names the largest economic transformation. I didn't find a wording from EY, I'm sorry. And the McKinsey study also estimated that the ecosystem economy could generate 70 to 100 trillion. This is 1/3 of the global gross economic output over the next few decades. This is the ecosystem you want to be part of. The ecosystem economy is so closely related to deep tech because it fosters an environment that promotes collaboration and network, that promotes knowledge transfer between the players, that also promotes a funding and investing. For us, as we are also investing, a company that is born out of an ecosystem, for us it's a much lower risk because we know they have access to partners, they have access to customers, they have access to academia. An ecosystem also promotes a talent pool and also helps when it comes to a regulatory and policy supports, what we all still have to do in quantum. This is the ecosystem we created. Our customers, in our center, there is the startups. We believe that the technology will be developed by the startups and the startups need this ecosystem to grow. They need money, they need venture partners, they need hardware access partners, they need academia network, they need a corporate network for finding customers and projects. They need other ecosystems to exchange. This is what we believe in, and we decided to build an ecosystem and to orchestrate this ecosystem. When you enter an ecosystem, you have to decide what you want to do. Do you want to be a player of the ecosystem, one of the parts I just showed? Or do you want to orchestrate it, bringing the dots together? This is what we are doing in Basel. We founded a company called Kai Ventures. We were born out of a bigger ecosystem from Uptown Basel. It's a private funded project, funded by a private investor that wants to develop Industry 4.0. We focused, when I entered the project, we thought about what is Industry 4.0. It's a nice buzzword, but what does it really mean? What technologies will disrupt the industries? And we focused very fast on quantum technology. So what we do in Uptown Basel is we offer hardware access to the industry, and we also develop startups. This is the site we are building. It will be a whole site, 70,000 square meters, 2,500 working places. We will now have the first commercially usable quantum computer on site from IonQ. and a lot more to come. That's the only thing I will talk about now, but we are building up, we are very strong. The whole project exists since 7 years. Now Quantum Basel and Kai Ventures, we exist since only not even a year, and we are growing very fast. How do we build up this ecosystem? This is what Kai Venture is doing. We attract startups by investing. We have a first fund. And I say the first because we will not stop there. We have a first 50 million fund with which we invest into 25 startups over the next 3 to 5 years. We invest up to 2 million, up to Series A. And that's very important and that's very unique. We invest globally. All the other funds that exist now that are pure quantum, they are obliged to invest in their countries because the money is public. We only raise and will raise private money. We don't want to be dependent from anyone else. As soon as we invest, we invite the startups, or we make them actually to come on site to join our accelerator. And in this accelerator, we see the real instrument of ecosystem building, because in this accelerator, we connect the startups to our industry partners. We find them projects, we find them partners, we give them another cash component, we give them free office space for 1 year, we give them a one-to-one tailored mentoring. So we don't have a normal acceleration program. We see in the due diligence what challenges that startups might face, and we do a one-to-one tailor-made mentoring program for every startup. We also give the startups access to quantum computers and the engineers behind. So you won't work in a cloud, you will work with the real computers and the real engineers. This is our team. We are at Kai Ventures, we are 4 growing to 6 this year. We have in the extended team 4 quantum physicists. I wear a t-shirt. We are hiring, we are looking for another quantum physicist as soon as possible. So if you're interested, please feel free to approach me. We have known investors in our investors committee, and of course we involve the not the most important, very important, but the closest academia network into our advisory board. So now I hope the next time someone is talking about ecosystem, you think twice and you prepare to really be part of our ecosystem. And if you are still very sector focused, be aware that your sector will be disrupted very soon. I want to invite you to Basel, visit us, see what we do, and please approach me if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
We will have Alexander Regner from Qtra. We will have Carsten Raven from Quantum Brilliance. We have Oliver de Vries from Optik Siena and Oliver Lischenko from CoreSense. Welcome, and please come over here. Darf ich das Mikrofon? Thank you. So the topic we will discuss over the next 30 minutes. There's one speaker, but anyway, we will start anyway. The topic we want to discuss with you over the next minutes is that we are in the midst of the second quantum revolution. So this is our key topic, and I would like to start the round by giving you the opportunity to introduce yourself quickly, what you do, and what your company is doing. Carsten, you can start.
So hello everyone, my name is Carsten Raven. I'm VP of Quantum Engineering at Quantum Brilliance. We are a German-Australian startup doing full-stack quantum computing, diamond-based, and the engineering department is here in Stuttgart. So for us, this is a Heimspiel today, and very much looking forward for our panel discussion on ecosystems, on enabling technologies.
Hello, my name is Oliver de Vries. I'm a CDO and co-founder of Quantum Optics Jena. What we are doing, we thought it's time to make the second quantum revolution real, and we thought we should make a startup and build quantum technology. And so we focus in the beginning to quantum communication. So we do entanglement-based quantum key distribution. That's our application. Yeah, and here we made a lot of progress last months and years.
Thanks. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Alexander from Qtra. I'm one of the co-founders and managing director of Qtra. We're a cryogenics company located in Munich. We're a spin-off from the Technical University, founded 5 years ago. We have now 50 employees about. We're developing novel cryogenic solutions and services for breakthrough science and obviously also for quantum technologies. That's why we're here today. Because cryogenics is one of the enabling technologies needed in most quantum technologies.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to hop onto the stage 1 minute too late. My name is also Oliver. I am representing Cohersense. I'm also founder and owner and CEO of the company. Cohersense is about coherence length sensors. So we build everything that characterizes the lasers in an instant. Very high resolution, so the aim is with our product to replace traditional wave meters, power meters, optical spectrum analyzers, and make it simple for people to use them, because you don't need a PhD in physics or in engineering to actually work with things in the second quantum revolution. This is what we're here for.
Very interesting, great. I see also a diverse panel in terms of the topics that you're working on, but what unites you is the topic of you are working on the second quantum revolution. Could you give, probably you can start, a definition, what is, in your point of view, the second quantum revolution?
Well, it's the second, so obviously it was the first. Post-war, which brought innovations like transistor, laser, LEDs, where we already started using quantum mechanical effects. However, on a different level, what is new now, the second quantum revolution, is a new era where we exploit for the very first time on the level of individual quantum states, so photons, atoms, ions, man-made, tailored quantum mechanical systems like tailored qubits, individual quantum states, and control and manipulate them. So that's the new thing, and it allows to develop completely new, also potentially very disruptive applications in quantum computing, quantum sensing, quantum communication.
Thank you very much for that explanation. Any additions from one of the other panelists?
Perfect one.
Yeah.
No, that was a perfect one.
It was a very good one. Yeah. The question is it really a second one, or is it continuum and development, and at a certain stage a threshold is reached where you think, oh, this seems like a threshold. So for me it's more a continuum, and at a certain point it becomes obvious that here something new happens and we have reach a new plateau of something we could found on new applications, new products, and so on. And I guess this is meant by the second quantum revolution. I guess there are other people that have maybe the third or the fourth meanwhile, but hey, it's just a word, a buzzword like quantum. We use it all the time, I guess.
All right, Oliver, you wanted to add something?
I think the one thing that really sets up apart, or that really justifies the word second quantum revolution, is that we take everything that's been established, like post-war to the basically the break of the century, as granted. Lasers is something that gets basically nobody excited anymore. It's a tool we use every day. It's a fundamental application, and we use it for everything, controlling individual molecules all the way to steel welding, in high precision machines and cutting applications, replacing standard machines. So it's the mastery of the equipment of the first revolution, and then finding applications for it. And I think this is where second really is. It's about going into applications rather than the fundamental physics and engineering of those tools.
It's interesting because the next question I had was, which role do enabling technologies play in that second revolution? So is it now only a combination of existing topics, or is there something, also a kind of enabling technologies that you say are relevant for the second revolution? Yeah.
So I guess enabling technologies are really like the core part of the second quantum revolution. It's all about technologies now, because we are so at the edge of technology. If this is in laser, in cooling systems, in controlling single quantum systems, this is always on the edge of technology now. So for me, enabling technologies is really part of the ecosystem to provide a very special focused technology into the ecosystem to build quantum applications with this. So I think enabling technologies are really one of the core parts of the quantum ecosystem.
Maybe from our company's point of view, probably it's majority of some parts. So if you have the ecosystem, it was the example of Tesla. It's maybe very easy to announce we need green energy, otherwise no electric car makes sense, and we need stations where you can get the energy. So it's, I guess, for everybody here, I mean, you make cryogenic developments, and for the quantum computing community, it's very important to have probably very cold temperatures, controlled temperatures, but also the semiconductor production, or there needs to be semiconductor or supraconducting materials. So material science needs to be mature. Then detection schemes needs to be mature. Also measurement tools for having the precision to produce very small structures to control. I mean, quantum means always something small or very singular things. So, yeah, I guess you need a majority or a broad spectrum of sub-technologies, I would say. And then you can build something new. I think it doesn't make sense to have a specific one picked out. This is the enabling technology for everything. I guess it's not true. I mean, it's like with the computer chips. You need the lasers to make this, for instance, XUV, lithography working. You need new materials for the mirrors to focus on. You need, for the chips, you need the architecture of the chips. You need a lot of things, really a lot of things to produce things which are totally common to use it in our smartphones or something. I mean, so a lot of stuff has to be developed, and then, something like, it was a good thing that we take something for granted. It's so mature at a certain point that you think of, now we can make something new, and this is let's call it second quantum revolution. It was a very good explanation. I like this one.
There's little to add from my end. So I think enabling already says you need these technologies. These are classic technologies, but we still need them if you want to implement valuable applications of new quantum systems. So they're really at the core of this quantum revolution. I just want to add, even though we're exploiting in this growing ecosystem enabling tech, which seems to be there already, there's still a lot to do there too. So we shouldn't take all classical enabling tech for granted. Just to give you an example, in our field of cryogenic cooling, there's a big struggle, a big challenge to develop cooling methodologies that will be able to provide a huge amount of cooling power for a coming cold quantum industry. So this is not there yet. This is something really new that is needed and where we have to put a lot of development effort into. Although we can base this development effort on existing technologies for sure. But there's also in enabling tech, there's still a long way to go in some areas.
Yeah, and I'd like to hop onto the maturity train. It is very natural in our mentality as human beings also to take things for granted, and we need a certain peace of mind, a certain technology acceptance, a certain technology readiness in order to move on. Because else you're cluttered up with all these problems, and I think this is where the enabling tech really comes into play, and this is what we're really dealing with here. Is that's what unites all of us. Is we need to make the tools of the first revolution easy, simple, robust, and reliable to handle, to get people's mind thinking about what can they do now. So, like, to prove the staging ground to then move on. And I think that is, it's not only a technology thing, but also a very important psychological barrier that you want to in Germany we say we don't want to build the house on sand, we
Yeah.
want to build it on a proper foundation, right? That's mentally also very important for people.
Very good. Yeah.
I think also it comes from the funding agency, I guess. I mean, you can do something very fancy stuff, propose it, and then the funding agency says, oh come on, it's too far away from something we need now. So I guess it has to grow also politically, or in a society, that something is on a majority level where it makes sense to make a new idea, bring it in. I guess a good example is that, for instance, in the quantum communication, there was this BB84 protocol for quantum key distribution. This was far before Peter Shaw, for instance, in '95, developed even a threat to this. So the BB84, also the BBM92, this was all before there was even recognized a threat to common IT key structures and so on. This is really amazing. Someone proposing something before this. I mean, a solution for a problem where no problem exists at this time. So, and to convince people to, for instance, do, let's say, in '85, someone wanted to make quantum key distribution. No one would think this is a market because there's no demand for something like this. Yeah. Come on, we have something much better. And yeah, and that's, I guess, is also a problem. The society needs to get awareness so that venture capitalists and also public funding agencies, society itself, and it gives pressure more and more that there's a need for something, and then also more people join. And then and more people means more ideas, more business models, and so on. And then they get creative at a certain point, yeah. And then for startups, especially, they get entrepreneur, and then they have the bold step to go in the startup, for instance. But we all need a certain background. I mean, I don't want to jump in the sea when I don't know that there are sharks or something. So that's why I keep safe. But yeah, so the surrounding must also be at a certain maturity, let's call it like this.
Yeah. You want to add something?
Yeah. Yes, maybe one thing to add. Yeah, we're talking about ecosystems. So a lot of enabling technologies in the first generation was in a value chain. In a classic value chain, you had a supplier that was developing something, throw it over the fence to the next one in the value chain. And this is changing now. So in this ecosystem, we are working all the way through the value chain, from characterization to fundamental technologies to the application. They all work together because it's so complex that you're not just taking a solution, building the next solution on top of it. It's this communication, this information across the ecosystem, which is so important.
Thanks for that. So when I was preparing this panel discussion, I was also, of course, visiting the websites of your companies, and I've seen all of you are on different, or at least I read some press releases and so on. You're in different fields active, but the question, I'm not sure if you did the same, if you also Googled yourself or visited yourself on LinkedIn and so on and so forth. Do you see a common goal of your activities? So if you're talking about this ecosystem, do you see a common goal where it would make sense?
So I guess I cannot talk for you. So I guess for us all the goal is really to realize applications with quantum technologies. Yeah, we are all at the very beginning. It's all still, let's say, very academic in the use cases. Yeah, so the dream and the hype is really to have industrial applications. If this is in quantum computing, sensing, or wherever, but I guess it's really to mature the technologies to really have large applications.
I guess, globally speaking, I guess it's always something really exciting to be in something which is very new, which seems also for outsiders relatively cool topics. I mean, I come from the laser topic field, so this was my background. So this was always, I thought, this is cool. Lasers are always cool. Now it's quantum is cool. So it gives, you are part of something really new. I mean, this is what, gives you all working in this field the motivation to do so. So to be a part of something exciting, where no one knows exactly which way it will go, and it's exciting simply. I guess this is always the adventure you do with a startup in general, but especially in the quantum world now, this is very exciting. There are some developments now coming in which accelerates a lot of these sub parts of, and so this joins. I mean, we are all joining in development in certain fields of the whole quantum field, and we all benefit of it. So this is the, I would say, a global view to the things, so that we are generally on a new field, and that each development in each of those many sectors inside is helping everybody a little bit.
Carsten, what is your view? Do you also think there is a common goal? Or Oliver first?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think the common goal is to provide a solid ground for people to work on, and the common goal that I think unites everyone. I spoke to Alex and briefly to Oliver this morning, is the one common goal is to actually enable people to get thinking and get creative, to actually have them not worry about the technology, but worry about what this technology can do and what benefit it can bring to all humankind. So that's something that I think, if I'd have to say one thing, I think is really do our homework to make things, we all do our homework to get people into the creative mode.
So I think we certainly share the goal that we all want to give quantum a push to get it to really valuable applications as soon as possible. Obviously for the reason because we're companies and it's a growing market, so that, to be honest, that's also important. We're startups and there needs to be a market, and that's also a challenge. So the sooner we get into a mature market, the better it is for the growing ecosystem, I guess. But of course, there's a big vision and promise of quantum technologies, and we're a growing team. We're now more than 50 employees, and I think what drives all of them is the vision that by enabling this new thing, this revolution, they can contribute to something really exciting, which has a huge impact and has the potential to solve really pressing issues of our society. And this is still years away, obviously, but I hope we're getting there, and we all try to get there as soon as possible. And I think that's what's driving many, if not all, the startup companies that are emerging of this field and the academic sector.
And where do you see the highest demand? So, of course, everybody's nowadays talking about, if you read the press, it's about quantum computing. That's also where US protects some inventions and so on and so forth to other countries. Is that the big topic, or is it in quantum cryptography, or is it in quantum communication, or in quantum sensing? So I know also you have different backgrounds, but where do you see in general the highest demand?
Demand for what?
From the market. So you mentioned it. So one thing is, of course, investment money. So where are investors putting money in, and why? And the other thing is also probably from industries, from corporates, or from wherever players in the world that would like to use or leverage these solutions that are not yet ready. But you mentioned it takes probably years to get there.
Yeah. So I clearly see demand in all these verticals. They're all moving ahead at different pace. I think quantum communication is already very far, not as far as perhaps computing. But if you look into the verticals in detail, you see there are different technology platforms. They all have different requirements. So you need a lot of classical enabling technologies, and they all have a large and growing demand. So I think it's a huge and quickly growing field. And I wouldn't say we need more here or more there. There are niches everywhere, and they're growing quickly. And you just have to decide where you start with a company, where you start working at. We're focusing with cryogenic cooling. We're mainly focusing on computing, supporting the development of computing components and qubit systems. But we're also in the field of communication and even sensing, because they all need cryogenic cooling.
Probably this is really a hard question to answer. Probably we can see it from a different view. We can say, okay, there's different majorities of technology, or let's say the level or the complexity level is high for some and not so high for others. So I would also agree that quantum key distribution, for instance, is relatively mature with the technology we have now. It could be better, definitely. So if we think of growing or support this section of, then we probably have to fund into different kind of stuff. I mean, let's take quantum computing. It's more basic science things which needs to be solved, really, and they need probably some really new solutions. Where, for instance, for quantum communication, as another part which is very already relatively mature, you need the funding in the structure itself. Yes, so there is more. We have questions, for instance, from political side to get accreditation or certification for certain protocols that they can be implemented. For now, it's just, for instance, more or less academics or on the path to industry, that some industry is checking this technology, but in the end, to get into the communication network, we need certifications and accreditations, and this is also a little bit the political awareness or the political pressure to do so. Yeah. Whereas, for instance, for quantum computing, I guess because all the global players are there, so there's a high demand, there's a big market, potentially the biggest of all. And but here you need more funding into the base science stuff. So I guess there are different branches we are funding too, if you see it all as a tree, for instance. So we are different levels, and so I guess everyone would have a different wish from politics or so, what they have to do or so.
That will follow. Carsten, any thoughts from your end regarding the demand of the three different parts?
No, I can just conclude that I think they are on a very different time scale. Some are more mature, that they will come earlier in getting industry maturity now, maybe in 2-3 years' time. Quantum computing definitely needs a couple of years more. Then, as you said, quantum communication needs infrastructure. Quantum sensing is probably a very high volume market. Quantum computing can be either, if you're in the classical, the sort of classical quantum computing where you have cryostats, large infrastructures around them, so probably then we have only a few of them. Or if you can go really to let's say quantum accelerators where you have also a large volume. So I think it's very difficult to compare them. It's a complete different market segments, different timings, and they all have their relativity there.
Okay, Oliver, last words from your end.
Yeah, we spoke a lot about difficulties. I like challenges.
No, the demand. I was asking where you see the highest demands, not challenges.
The fun thing is The fun thing is we don't know where the demand is. We're still at a very early stage of the market, and it's going to be a race. Everybody's racing. The technologies are racing, and this is also what startups are made for. We're made for racing. We're there to speed things up, to really hit the ground running. So this is really what we want to drive. All of us want to drive is that we want to make sure that for whatever niche, whatever branch each of the companies supports, we're driving it forward. And we're not a huge flagship like maybe some of the capital companies here, but we are the ones that can. Well, you better believe it. We can put a Bunsen burner under their chairs, and we can make a move really, really fast if we drive things fast.
Absolutely agree. Couldn't agree more. Anyway, you mentioned that we are talking about challenges. Yes, I want as a next topic I would talk about the challenges because, of course, it's interesting. There is money coming in, but I also read about resource topics. So, what are your biggest challenges that you see in building up the company? Let's talk about the company, not only the technology. Of course, it can be technology, it can be regulation, it can be finding the right people. Would be interesting to hear that from your perspectives.
Sure. So Coherence takes a bit of a different approach to classical startups. We're financing ourselves from the revenue we generate. So we decided very early on to run as far as we can without investors to avoid additional stakeholders in the process. We'd rather work with stakeholders in the market. So as part of our incubation program, we ran with very active feet on the ground approach. we talk to a lot of companies, and the challenge is also in economic hard times to make them stick, because of course this is a different funding scheme than if you're running it. The good news is this kind of Kickstarter mentality, where we are giving out technology to the market for relatively low price, does have an advantage for the market, because especially people can start getting used to technology. And new technology always needs acceptance, and building that faith is into small and new technologies is, I think, the biggest one. So if there's one thing I can wish for, is courage and faith into what the new players do, and not only look at what the big ships are doing.
Thank you for that statement, Alexander.
I agree on that. So if you develop something really new as a startup, it takes time until it's really accepted by the big players in the market. So that's certainly a challenge. And the other challenge I see, and I think that's something we all share, that the timeline of the quantum market is quite unclear. And that's a major challenge for growing companies who need financing. So you somehow have to bridge the gap to market majority. So that's a tricky one. Our strategy to get there is a dual track. So we're now selling the shovels to the miners in this quantum gold rush. So we're selling like tools that are needed already today in the quantum R&D, the characterization, the testing, and at the same time we're already working on the cryogenic platforms that will be needed in the future in a more mature market. But I think that's one of the major challenges, this unclear timeline, because nobody knows about the coming potentially really disruptive changes, because there are so many new players in the field and you just don't know when we will get to the breakthrough.
Yeah, for our company, so we are more integrators, I would say. So we have not really technology, so we don't make chips for detecting something or something. So we need our suppliers. It's a very important thing. So each development in the fields of our suppliers is helpful for us. And so we sell whole systems, so whole solution. And for this, we need customers who are really are bold enough to be early adapters of this technology. And then we have back the trust thing, and having the first adaptation to something, someone is using it, then others will jump on the train, and then, yeah, this is then hopefully an avalanche, and this is where we aim for. So our technology is aimed for mass production, so that we can integrate a lot of systems in a short time. So we are waiting for this growing market curve.
The hockey stick.
Yeah. So, which can be, and then we come to the timeline, in 2 years, it can be in 20 years. I hope not in 20 years, but you never know.
Yeah. So the biggest challenge, to summarize from your point of view, is to find the right amount of customers,
right,
to get there.
And we need still time for technology.
Yeah.
The scheduling is hard. Yeah, we want to be prepared. If it comes too early, this is always a hard thing for startups. Investing too early, you need a good timing, and the timing is something which this is like in the music. You need at least 2 beats before to get the timing. We just had 1 or so. I don't know. We don't know when the next beat comes. So timing is very difficult. Yeah. So to say.
Carsten, your statement to that. Latest
so
one.
I agree. Timing is really difficult to judge. I guess for me there are more challenges. There's so we try to be on the fast growing side with a lot of VC money also in. We see it really changed. The whole investment market has changed over the last 2 years with increased tax rates, investment rates. It's really more difficult to get the money. They're more risk averse. This is one challenge. The other challenge is getting talents in. If you want to grow, to get talents in, I mean, we are all competing for the same talents from the same universities. So that is a challenge. And for us as a full stack company, it's really, in the moment, we really need to develop the full stack of a quantum computer. And that's nothing we do because we want to, but because there are too little partners or possible partners that can take over part of the stack. So we see that this is growing now. And that helps really that we can focus on what is really our value proposition, what is our technical focus, and giving more stuff away. But this is developing just now, and so I think that helps us really focusing and speeding up processes by just giving away stuff into the ecosystem.
Thank you very much. We are already at the last question, and I would like to ask you to give you a very short answer, probably one sentence. You already brought it somehow, Oliver. If you could make a wish, what do you need from industry partners or venture capitalists or academia or whomever? What would be your priority wish that you have? That's now the chance.
So my wish would be that we support from a venture and government side, not only startups in the seeding phase, which is really good in Germany, but then afterwards, Series A, B, C, when you really have an idea and when you really need to get money in, real money, then it's really getting difficult here in Germany. That is an infrastructure that's missing here for companies on the growth path.
So bigger investment appetite for
growth path.
More Series A, B, and C.
So from politics, it's this was more or less of politics, or let's say society, that it's that a long-term investment thing. This I agree totally. I have another one, maybe from supplier market to supply subcomponents which are industrial orientated and not academics orientated, because this is often where we have to separate companies who are willing to go the industrial way, less performance, less footprint, but cheaper, something like this.
Growth capital.
Okay.
ABC, later rounds, very important and very hard to get in Germany and Europe. Super important, otherwise all the innovation and employment is just lost to non-EU countries, so that's a big issue. From politics, funding really dedicated also with large budget, large tickets, specifically also for enabling tech, because there are also challenges in enabling tech. And we have a lot of funding for really flagship quantum systems, which is great and important because they're driving the whole field, but there's not so much funding available for purely enabling tech. So that would also be something on my wish list to be able to move faster and get funding also for these new enabling technologies.
Thanks, Alexander.
Yeah, I said it already. It's courage. We have to move beyond German Ängstlichkeit. So that's the real thing that we need, and that holds for every aspect of the business. If we want to be the world leader, we better step up and we better be bold.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that last statements. It was a pleasure to have you here on stage. Thanks a lot, Carsten, Oliver, and Alexander. I wish you a lot of success with your startups, and that all the money will flow, and that industry partners will come, and also the government will invest in your businesses. Thank you very much. Thanks. Have a great trade show.
Yeah, thank you very much for the kind introduction. My name is Axel Schönbeck, and I'm CEO and co-founder of Noisy Labs. At Noisy Labs, we build lasers. And I think we already heard in the previous panel that lasers are a very important part of today's technology. And actually, we basically use lasers in our everyday life, for example, when giving presentations. Apart from that, the way we have listened to music and watched movies in the past would also have been very different if we hadn't have lasers. And laser technology will also be very important for the technologies of the second quantum revolution. However, the laser as we know it today faces some limitations and is thus not suitable for all these applications. And one example is actually sensing. In sensing, many measurements and the sensitivity of many measurements is actually limited by quantum noise. What that means can be explained by that formula. So the sensitivity is actually given by the ratio of the signal to the noise, and the signal actually depends on the number of photons that are used in a measurement, and the noise depends on the square root of the very same number of photons. So from that formula, in a sense, you also see what you can do to actually improve the signal to noise ratio, and that is you can either increase the laser power or increase the measurement time, because that way you get more photons. And as you see, the signal grows faster than the noise. And I guess you can all kind of relate to that situation when you think about train journeys and if you try to listen to music on a train. You really have some background noise, which is really annoying, for example, from the train or from people just talking. And that limits the signal to noise ratio of the music you are listening to. So you can't really enjoy your music to the fullest because the noise is disturbing it. And what you then do is actually you turn on the volume. You make it louder, so you get more signal, but in the end, it's probably too loud and you will hurt your ear. And it's exactly the same in laser technology. So as I said, you can increase the optical power, but that creates new problems. So for example, if you have very sensitive measurements, like measurements with biological probes, you might basically just destroy your probe and burn your sample. Or if you already have high powers, you might also misalign your measurement device because light is always absorbed in optics and the optics heats up, and thus some misalignment might occur due to that. So that's one of the problems. Maybe you also want to maintain an eye-safe environment, and then the optical power is naturally limited because too high powers are not safe for the eye anymore. And if you don't want to deal with laser safety measures, you don't want to increase the laser power to arbitrary levels. Could also be that high power lasers are basically just too costly or they don't exist at all. So that's also a limit that you might face. And there are actually many applications at the moment that are at that threshold and that face this limit. So one example is gravitational wave detection, which is a scientific application where the power is already quite high and cannot easily be increased anymore. But then there are also many examples from biology where people use lasers to analyze, for example, viruses, and where the laser cannot be increased in power anymore because you would just destroy the sample. So at this point, the question actually is, what else can be done to increase the sensitivity? And the answer to that question is basically use squeezed light. And I now want to explain why this works on a few slides. And to do that, I would like to explain you first what the light looks like that is emitted from a conventional laser. So here you basically see the distribution of photons coming out of a conventional laser. You see the probability to detect a certain number of photons in a given measurement interval. And you see indicated by the black arrows the standard deviation of that distribution, which is leading to the noise that you observe in the measurement. In this plot, I basically just shows an average number of 10,000 photons, which is basically related to the optical power of the laser. And if you now use a squeeze laser instead, you can see that you get a significantly smaller standard deviation. So you basically squeeze the noise, and by that way, you increase the signal-to-noise ratio in the measurement, but actually not by increasing the power, but by reducing the standard deviation and thus the noise. So you get a better signal-to-noise ratio by using squeezed light. And the way this works was also demonstrated in some experiments that we have done in our group. And these are shown here. So this is really an example where we basically measured the movement of a mirror that is shaking, and it's shaking at a frequency of 4.8 megahertz. And from left to right, you can see that the amplitude and the way it moves becomes smaller and smaller until at the end, nothing can be seen anymore. And that measurement was basically done with a conventional laser. After that, we added squeezed light, and you can see that the signal-to-noise ratio immediately increases because the noise goes down. So from 1.2 to 4.0 on the very left. But what's also interesting is here on the very right, the signal that was previously hidden in the noise can now be seen, and you can actually discover signals that would be invisible otherwise. So thinking back about the train journey, this is really like the noise cancelling headphone for sensing applications, because you basically reduce the noise, you get a better signal-to-noise ratio, and you can listen to your favorite music while maintaining a pleasant volume without running the danger of hurting your ears. And that's actually one of the main use cases of squeezed light, but there are others. And probably you are aware of the problem that computers that we use today are basically too slow to, well, solve some complex problems like the optimization of ship routes. And to tackle that problem, people are working on quantum computers and are trying to build quantum computers. And there are many, many different platforms to realize quantum computers. There are also platforms based on optics and on lasers. And these platforms also require laser technology that is different from the conventional laser technology that we have. And here, squeezed light can actually also help to build optical quantum computers, which people already have done and where people already have demonstrated a quantum computational advantage. So you can see that squeezed light is really an important enabling technology for the second quantum revolution, and that's why we focus on building squeezed lasers at Neue Labs. Here you can see two devices that we've already built and that we've delivered to our partners, one at 1064 nanometers and one at 1550 nanometers. Both systems are powered with a conventional laser. In the 1064 case, this laser is a coherent Prometheus laser. And in the 1550 case, it's an NKT fiber laser. So these lasers are coupled to our devices here in the boxes, and then the boxes emit the squeezed light that is used in the applications. These boxes actually come with an integrated control electronic system. So all the electronics that you need to control these devices are packed in a 19-inch rack. And this can be really easily controlled by a graphical user interface, like just a touch screen, so that you can really focus on the application and doing work with squeezed light and don't have to deal with generating this kind of light. So the squeezed light is really the key product of our company, but we also provide the accessories that you need to work efficiently with their technologies. And that can be, for example, special detectors with high quantum efficiency, low electronic noise, such that you can really see tiny signals, mode filter cavity to optimize the laser beam in the application, but we are also open to doing complementary products and custom solutions for your project, because we know that every project is slightly different and might require different solutions. With that, I would like to thank you for your attention. So if you want to know more, please ask now or pass by our booth, which is just over there, or well, write me or call me anytime you want. Thank you very much.
Hi. Hello, everyone. My name is Paul Jorba, and I'm a sales engineer at Qtra. At QTRA, our goal is to provide simple, safe, and scalable cooling for science and quantum technologies. We are a spin-off from the Technical University of Munich, the physics department that was founded in 2018, as Alex just explained. I'm here today to explain how at QTRA we apply magnetic cooling to create novel ADR-based cryostats for applied quantum technologies. So, as you know, most quantum technologies rely on Kelvin or even sub-Kelvin temperatures for their development and operation. At QTRA, we use a combination of closed-cycle cooling and adiabatic demagnetization refrigeration, which is magnetic cooling, in other words, to reach the sub-Kelvin temperatures necessary to enable most superconducting quantum technologies. Adiabatic demagnetization refrigeration relies on a cryocooler to cool down to 4 Kelvin, a heat switch that allows us to thermally connect or disconnect our sample and ADR unit from the thermal bath, a magnet, typically an electromagnet, and a cooling unit, which is typically a paramagnet. First, the cooling medium is magnetized by ramping up the magnet, and this produces magnetocaloric effect, so a bit of heating through magnetocaloric effect, and this heating is dissipated in the thermal bath of the cryocooler. Once the heating is dissipated, we can open the heat switch, so we place our ADR unit in an adiabatic condition. It's isolated from the thermal bath, and as we remove the magnetic field, the spins in our paramagnet, the magnetic moments, want to disorder, and the only place they can take this disorder, this entropy, is from the thermal entropy of the system. So as the magnetic field is ramped down, the temperature also comes down, so we get cooling power through this. One of the issues is that once the magnetic field is over, then we need to restart this process. So compared to other cooling technologies, ADR offers safe and simple operation. Since it's a solid-state based technology, it does not require any cryogenic liquids. Also, it has the advantage of having a very large temperature range, so it can work all the way from a few kelvins to few millikelvins, and even some of the nuclear ADR technology goes to microkelvin. And last but not least, very importantly, it's a very future-proof and sustainable technology because it does not rely on the supply of helium-3, which is becoming even more scarce or hard to get, especially in Europe. And all this in combination make ADR a good cooling platform for the adoption of commercial use and next generation of quantum technologies. The use of ADR, which is not a very new technology, it's here since the 60s, has been limited due to some challenges to its implementation. First, in traditional implementations of ADR, there's high magnetic fields that are used, and these stray magnetic fields near the sample position are not compatible with most quantum technologies. Another issue is the limited cooling time. So as we saw before, ADR is typically a one-shot technique, and that again is not compatible, let's say, with quantum computing units that need to run 24/7. And lastly, traditional ADRs have very long cooling times because we need to cool down the cryostat, but also these large superconducting magnets. So today I will explain how we have tackled these challenges to actually harvest the advantages of ADR technology while bypassing or omitting these limitations. So as I mentioned, typical implementations of ADR lead to large stray magnetic fields near the sample. The reduction of these fields is essential to study and operate quantum devices. So how do we do it? First, we use compensated superconducting magnets. As you see here, it's one of them. And we have the electromagnet in the middle, and we counter-wound an electromagnet around it, which actually reduces very quickly the magnetic field around the sample. So it's an actively compensated electromagnet. And the second measure is that we actually place the sample space quite far away from the compensated ADR magnets, about half a meter, a bit more. In combination, these two measures make that the stray magnetic fields that the ADRs generate at the sample position are in the order of Earth magnetic field or even lower. This way, like in many other cryostats, we can simply create a zero field area by putting magnetic shielding around our sample space. And of course, this only works if we already have low magnetic fields, because those magnetic shieldings don't work very well against strong fields. Alternatively, some quantum technologies require well-defined magnetic field. And for this purpose, a large sample magnet can be installed. And this does not interfere with the ADR operation. So by using compensated magnets and by increasing the distance between the magnets and the sample space, we're able to decouple ADR operations, so the cooling process, from the magnetic field at the sample position. So that's already a very good milestone. Then the next challenge is the one-shot operation, or the cooling time. At QTRA, we have recently launched the first and only commercially available continuous ADR cryostats. So instead of having one cooling unit, we have two cooling units, which we use in serial configuration. The ADR unit closer to the sample is used to control the sample temperature, while the assisting ADR unit switches between the sample ADR and the cryocooler to renovate the cooling power of the system. To do that, we use two heat switches that we control, that are mechanically controlled. Sorry. And this allows us to automate this process much easier. So how does it work? The ADR unit close to the sample, as I mentioned, here in blue, is used to control the sample temperature and allows us to have a very good control. While the assisting ADR unit in yellow can be driven to a slightly lower temperature than the sample ADR. And at this point, we can demagnetize it while we magnetize the sample ADR, so the cooling power is transferred to the sample ADR. And once the assisting ADR unit is over, we can bring it back to 4 Kelvin by switching the heat switches. And this process can then be repeated infinitively to provide continuous power. We have fully automated this process with an intelligent software to offer precise and continuous control down to 300 millikelvin. Running CADR in such a way is also very interesting because, as I said, ADR has a wide temperature range. So we can control the temperature at any temperature between the base temperature and all the way to room temperature. So here, for instance, we have a very low noise measurement of the resistivity of a sample. We see a superconducting transition there. And in the x-axis, we have time. So this was done over 300 minutes with a RAM rate of 100 millikelvin per minute. So very well controlled RAM rate. And at some point, the intelligent software switches from ADR control to cryocooler and heater, and it is all just behind in the background and taken care of by the software. This is very useful, for instance, to characterize material samples for quantum technologies, because we can get very low noise measurements. And most of the sub-Kelvin cooling technologies will struggle to cover such a large temperature range. The last challenge that I wanted to address here is the cooling time. To circumvent this problem, we always keep the cryostat cold and rely instead on fast sample loading. So the solid state nature of ADR means fast. It means that we can keep the cryostat cold all the time. And since there's no cryogenic liquids in there, we can load our warm sample into the sample stage using our proprietary automatic sample loader. And to do that, we use some pucks. I can show you later if you're interested in our booth, where the samples can be loaded and then simply inserted into the cryostat. From there, the cooling process starts, and within less than 3 hours, base temperature of 100 millikelvin can be reached. So first, the puck thermalizes with the cryocooler to 4 Kelvin in about 1 hour, 1.5 hours. And then the ADR magnets are charged. Sorry. And the cooling process continues down to base temperature. So we put together all these technologies that I just described in the L-type rapid cryostat. This system can run from 100 millikelvin all the way to room temperature. It has this fast sample loader. And if you're interested, we also have a demonstrator of how the sample loader works at our booth. And all these make the L-type rapid a unique cryostat for fast testing and characterization of material samples and quantum devices. As an example, we performed a characterization of a superconducting resonator. It was an aluminum-based one. Accounting so for typical measurement of 1 to 3 hours with a proper VNA, we can have a full measurement cycle of about 6 hours for a full characterization of a resonator. This allows to get very fast feedback on the fabrication of these devices, for instance. So just to show you some data, we characterized the power dependence of the internal quality factor at 100 millikelvin, and then we characterized the temperature dependence at a given power output, and we retrieved very nice data. So now moving on to what else we do. This year we also delivered 2 units of our new system, the S-type optical. It's based on the same cooling technology, so it provides continuous sub-Kelvin operation with ADR technology, but instead of having the fast sample loader on top, we packed it very tightly in a 19-inch rack, and we allowed optical access at the top. So this is more thought as a platform for optical quantum technologies and material science. We're also working on the S-type quantum platforms, which are designed for long-term operation of quantum devices. Using our technology, we plan a future-proof and sustainable cooling platform completely independent of rare helium-3. Finally, we also offer measurements as a service as a cost-effective way to get results quickly while ensuring expert support throughout your project. So we have some of these L-type rapids in our offices, which we use for measurements as service and development. And having such a fast and easy-to-use system allows us to be very competitive when offering cryogenics as a service. So as a summary, I hope I could show you that magnetic refrigeration is a powerful tool for quantum science and technology, and that by leveraging the benefits of magnetic cooling and implementing technical solutions to its limitations, we can provide easy-to-use sub-Kelvin cryostats. So for more information on our products or discussing your requirements, come visit us at our booth, D30 over there. In the exhibition area, we have, as I said, a mock-up demonstrator of the L-type rapid. And to finish, I would like to thank all my colleagues at Qtra that make all this possible with their effort and expertise. Thank you.